the person of the spotlight session is here. So gear up, sit up straight, put a big smile, and we are going to present before you the one and only Brian Lara. So just hold on and keep smiling, keep that energy high. He is here right now. I can see him. And we are going to present to you the one and only Brian Lara, a hero, a magician, an entertainer, a match winner, a savior, a leader. Brian Charles Lara, like a masterful actor, slipped in and out of several roles with effortless ease. First things first, he will forever be remembered as one of the greatest batsmen of the modern era. His wizardry and sheer style would trump any batsman. Brian Lara inspired his troops to the ICC Champions Trophy titled Victory in 2004 in Old Blighty, which remains the highlight of his captaincy. He hung up his wonderfully worn international boots following the 2007 World Cup, where host West Indies progressed to the Super Heights round. He is the only batsman in the history of international Test cricket to have scored 400-plus runs in an innings. Mr. Lara also held for 18 years the record of scoring the highest number of runs in a single over of a Test match. Please put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen, with a thunderous round of applause. Please welcome on stage Brian Charles Lara. Brian, sir, we have a special felicitation, and I'd like to request Mr. Anil Valluri, MD and Vice President of Palo Alto Networks, to kindly come forward and present a memento to Brian Charles Lara. Keep those applauses coming, ladies and gentlemen. This is the moment that we've all been waiting for. Thank you so much for being here with us. Mr. Lara, thank you so much. We request you to take your seat, sir. Yes. And we would now like to call the moderator for this session, Ridhima Pathak. She's a TV presenter and host who is well known for presenting various sports events. And as she was coming in, I quickly caught a sight of her. She's beautiful. She's gorgeous. She has interviewed renowned personalities like Virat Kohli, MS Dhoni, Shah Rukh Khan, Devendra Fadnavis, among others. In 2019, she was appointed as the broadcaster of the international T20 match between India and Australia. May I request the gorgeous Ridhima Pathak to kindly come on stage, please, and a round of applause for her as well. Thank you, and I will now hand over the session to you, the gorgeous ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot. Well, a very good afternoon to one and all present here. Thank you so much for having us, and more importantly, Brian Lara, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry? Okay. So I would just like to say that it's an absolute honor and privilege to be amongst all of you. A big thank you to ABP for inviting us, and really looking forward to this session. It's my lucky day is because I'm meeting the man twice in 2 weeks. Are we all settled? Superb. How have you been, Brian?
I've been good, and it's always great to be in India. I've been here for the last couple of weeks. I visited Sri Lanka and Dubai, and you know, I see India as a second home for me. So in my element, I'm happy that India has increased its golf courses so I can play the sport that I love playing now. So yeah, thank you. And to be back in Kolkata again, a wonderful place, home of my very good friend Saurav Ganguly and others. Thank you, and I look forward to this evening.
Well, we're so looking forward to this, and let's just address the elephant in the room because everybody here has one question, so I'm going to just start with that. Did you see the finals of the ICC Men's Cricket World Cup?
Of course I did. What was it? Must have been 4 o'clock in the morning in Trinidad and Tobago. And every time India played a game, especially after they were certain of qualifying, I was looking forward, sorry to say, I was looking forward to an Indian defeat. I wanted India to lose a game just to understand what it might need, to go and win the finals. It's always a very uneasy thing when a team is playing so good, 100% record, coming up against a team like Australia, as you guys know, they know how to win a World Cup. And I was hoping that India could just falter once. And, so they can do, whatever preparation that they needed to for the finals. I don't know if you know, but I'm almost sure there's a lot of historians in the room, but in Trinidad and Tobago, our largest population is Indian. And the likes of Shah Rukh Khan, Virat Kohli, MS Dhoni, of course, Sachin Tendulkar, all these guys are heroes back in Trinidad and Tobago. So India, outside of the West Indies, is the favorites when it comes to us in Trinidad and Tobago. So I was very disappointed with the result, but I think the players can hold their heads high because it was a performance worthy of the trophy, definitely. And these things happen in sports. Sometimes you do your best and you've created everything to win something, and you have to walk away shaking the hands of the winners. And that's what the Indians did very sincerely with the Australians. But there is a tournament in about 7 months' time, and I could promise you I would not be supporting India. I'll be supporting the West Indies.
Well, now that's out of the way. But did you like the brand of cricket that India played throughout the ODI World Cup?
Yeah, most definitely. India is one of those teams that you fall in love with. The players that they have, tremendous players, great spirit. It's so wonderful to see how Virat Kohli played the World Cup. This is someone who, stepped aside as a captain of a team, and it's a very difficult thing to do. I had that experience as well. When you try your best as a captain and you sort of step back and now you have to carry the mantle just as a batsman. And I'm very proud to see the way how he conducted himself throughout the World Cup. And he's such a shining example, not just from his feats on the cricket field, but obviously the way how he go about life, the way how he go about doing what he does. And it's tremendous to see. India is playing a wonderful brand of cricket. And I'm hoping that they can continue doing so in all formats of the game. They've been to a couple ICC Champions Test Series, which they've come out second. But hopefully one day they can win that as well.
All right, fingers crossed. All right, we all know Brian Lara on the field, but this is an opportunity to get to know him off the field. So I'm going to do my best. I'm going to start from the top. What was childhood like for you? How did cricket happen?
Childhood, 11 kids, 2 parents in a 3-bedroom house. I remember my big sister demanding a room, and my parents, of course, had the other. So it was 10 of us in a bedroom. And let me tell you something, that was amazing. Having so much siblings to grow up with. My brothers eventually, converted the garage into an extra bedroom, so we had a bit of a relief in the main bedroom. It was no longer 10, it was now 8. But really and truly, growing up in Santa Cruz, which is exactly 1 or 2 streets away from Dwayne Bravo and Darren Bravo, is just amazing. And having bigger brothers, because I was like number 10, and being number 10 in a cricket team of 11 players, I had to bat at number 10, at least growing up. So my sisters batted before me. But it was just an amazing feeling. And a lot of my brothers were very, very jealous because they felt that Dad really and truly put a bigger effort into me than he did into them. But I have an answer for it. They just weren't good enough. You know, and my dad was able to, you know, later on in life to sort of provide, and he had one last effort to get one of his sons playing cricket internationally, and I was happy to oblige.
So when did you realize that you were bloody good?
You know what? You never actually realize that, you know, that you very good. I mean, obviously, as a youngster growing up, you would have parents watching their sons, but also watching you, and you would hear the little gossip behind the nets, you know, about, you know, this young player. And back in those days, you more felt that satisfaction that when you see your dad and you know that he's proud of you, you sort of feel that you're achieving something. But in the back of your mind, I mean, now with obviously the digital world, you can see what's going on. But my main aim was just to enjoy cricket, love the game. I, of course, listened to a lot of cricket. We didn't have it on television. But I knew that I had something in me because every year I had that encouragement to go on because you're either the top batsman in the team or you scored the most runs in the team. And I had that sort of impetus to keep going. And I think when I realized that I wasn't good enough, that's a better question, is when I came up against other players from the West Indies. We were playing under 19 cricket. And I saw one Carl Hooper, and I thought, wow, this guy is just amazing. And I want to be like him one day. And of course, I saw the Viv Richards and these guys later on. But I think I worked pretty hard towards getting to a level where I could sort of tell myself, you could be the best in the world.
Wow. You spoke about the man Viv Richards. Now, your first day when you got inducted in West Indies cricket, you had a date with Viv Richards. What was it like?
I'm not. Viv Richards, as you guys know, he has that borderline arrogance about him. And obviously, as a 19-year-old getting into the West Indies team, Viv Richards was the captain of the team. And I think immediately he put me in my place. I remember the first game we were playing against India. And the first game I was selected, it was actually in Trinidad and Tobago, and that's where I'm from. And I put my bag in the dressing room where I sat for the last 2 seasons as a first-class cricketer. And eventually that bag came flying out of the dressing room, and only to realize that where I sat for Trinidad and Tobago is where Viv Richards sat for the West Indies. So immediately I realized that, okay, where I was in the pecking order. I spent the first 5 days of my international career in the bathroom, in and out, getting guys stuff.
Well, as a 19-year-old, what kind of a mark did that leave on you?
Well, I was somebody who, had a dream to play for the West Indies. And it doesn't matter what sort of situation. I mean, the tougher you made it for me, the tougher I got, the more I learned. So getting into that, being initiated into that West Indies team, doesn't matter if it was positive or negative, it was always a learning experience for me. I knew that this was my dream, and nobody could sort of sway me off of my dream playing for the West Indies. So it was tough growing up, spending a couple years in the West Indies team, carrying the towel, carrying the water, and not playing. But those were so important. That apprenticeship period was so important. It taught me a lot. And it's definitely toughened me up for better things in the future.
Right. Well, 80s and early 90s, an era of Brian Lara and a certain man called Sachin Tendulkar. Your first impression when you met him?
My first impression before I met him, reading on the newspapers, is how could a 16-year-old play Test cricket? Because I remembered when I was 16, I could hardly get the ball to the boundary. And I was always amazed by the ascendancy of Sachin, because being 16, we were around the same time. I would have been 19, getting into the West Indies team. Sachin Tendulkar was this prodigy from India. And we sort of simultaneously, carried our career forward. And there was that comparison between us. And, but that quickly went out the window because our friendship transcended that boundary. And we were more, laughing at suggestions of who was better, who was not better. And I think still today, our friendship is just amazing. I met him first in Australia. We were playing in that World Series before the 1992 World Cup. Right. And it's just amazing to see someone so young, you know, and the way how mature he was as a cricketer at such a tender age.
Right, so you read about him, and then there was comparison. But was there a moment when you saw him live, and that thought came to you that, yes, he is quite the genius?
Well, yeah, of course. Well, I knew he was a genius because, as I said, being 16, 17 and playing international cricket is something that, you know, I couldn't fathom. I couldn't understand how that was possible. So I knew that this young man was something very, very special, and we were just growing into the space that was left by great players. So that silent competition was there. But one time I played with Sachin, and that was after the 1992 World Cup. And we had a game against Pakistan in Canada. Pakistan were the World Cup champions. And there was this, we played in the Sky Dome, which I think is now called the Rogers Center. And we played in something like this, which meant the ball was flying off the surface. And they made a rule because we had Ambrose and we had Courtney Walsh. And they said, okay, you could only take 15 steps, run up and bowl, you know, protect the players. And we did that, and Pakistan scored 300 runs. And we got off to a fast start, myself and Sachin. And I heard Imran Khan, I didn't understand what he said, but he, you know, when I looked back, I saw Waka Yunus running from his full run-up. And he bowled his short ball to Sachin and flew over his head, over the keeper's head. And I walked down to wicket to Sachin, and I said, listen, they're being unfair. They're going way past the restricted area. And he looked at me and he said, don't worry about it. And the next ball, Waka ran in and bowled and short, and 50 rows back in the Rogers Stadium, then the Sky Dome, the ball landed. And then I realized, you know, this young man is serious.
Yeah, so I had heard and read about this, and that's what I'm getting to, is because, you know, I of course, this match, and we've spoken about this before, that you're the partnership between you and Sachin. But more importantly, you know, both of you set records that are still untouched, especially yours, which was 500 and then 400. But you have to tell me, what does a player, a man, think and is going through when he's batting in first class at 500?
That's funny because I should not have been there on 2 occasions. I had an amazing run of about 5 weeks where I came off scoring 375 in Antigua, went directly to county cricket. And I remembered a few years earlier on, I went to the West Indies team, and I averaged like 28 in the county games. I didn't play any test matches, and the conditions were strange to me. So I was kind of, you know, reserved in my expectations, even though, you know, I held a test record. But I started with a bang, and I had like 5 centuries straight. And, you know, the cricket world went crazy. And I stood up in that match. It was the 6th of June, well, before the 6th of June. And I was on 10 against Durham. And I got bowled behind my back with a no ball from Anderson Cummings. And then on 14, I edged the ball, regulation. I did not even have to look back. Regulation catch to the keeper. And I made 3 steps towards the pavilion, and I saw the bowler, and his hand went up and went down. And I looked back, and I saw the ball on the ground. And I remember I got a single. I tell the umpire, I think my run is over. I'm not feeling, you know, like if I'm in any more form. I understood that the wicketkeeper, after he dropped the catch, said, geez, this man is going to score 100. Well, 500 runs later, I was still there. And it's not about what do you do. I think it's just something that is like destiny, and it just happened. You know, I think somebody might be capable of breaking it, but there's so much pieces of the puzzle that have to be in place for you to have an opportunity to score 501 runs in a cricket match. And for me, I had that opportunity, and I'm very, very thankful to have broken that record. But it's nothing that I, you know, sort of look back and, you know, keep pounding into people's head. It's a good score, and one day hopefully somebody can break it and enjoy that, that feeling.
Well, it has to be the most expensive catch ever dropped. Did you say anything to him after that?
Actually, actually, no. I saw him a couple of years ago in Australia. I was doing a show in Australia, and they said that they have a guest that that I should meet, and he's coming on the show, and I had no clue who it was. And I must say, what is it? 20-something years later, he didn't look like the same cricketer that dropped me. He put on a bit of weight, so I had no clue who he was. But eventually, they told me who he was, and I looked at him and I said, "You changed my life. Let's go have a beer."
And did he say cheers or no?
He said, "Can you believe that I got a business class ticket to Australia for dropping you?"
Well, so it has to be something with your competitive nature, of the little interaction I've had with you. I've found you to be one of the most competitive people I've ever met. Do you think you are a very competitive man?
I am absolutely competitive, and I don't know if it ran in the family, but when you come up and you grow up with 6 brothers and 4 sisters and playing cricket in the streets, and after school, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, if you get a bat, you're not going to get a bat for the rest of the week. You had to go out there and sort of stay. And my brothers and my friends in the village hated when I got the opportunity to bat, because I started on a Monday and I'll end maybe on a Friday or something like that. I left the weekend for them. But I think my competitive nature just came from the fact that I had a dream, and the dream that I had involved being better than other youngsters my age. And I think I relished that opportunity, and I relished that challenge from a young man. And that has not just been in cricket. I mean, now I play golf or anything that I do, I have this competitive side to me that, you want to come out on top. I still have, the spirit of sport is still in me. If I do lose, I shake hands and I move on. But I hardly can do anything without seeing the competitive side to it.
Wow. So, is there a modern day cricketer in which you see that side? You see the same competitive nature, you see that killer instinct?
I mean, everybody that plays the game has that killer instinct. I think what I sort of appreciate in some cricketers, the top ones, like a Virat Kohli, who understands there are a lot of people that are jumping at the bit to replace him as the number 1 player in the world. But he is capable of churning out performances day in, day out. The way he lives his life, the sort of commitment and discipline that he has. These are the fascinating things about someone that is competitive, and someone who, understands, is the environment that he is in, and still able to excel. And I think Virat Kohli, now you're seeing Shubman Gill and these guys really looking forward to take up the mantle and strive to be the best in the world. So I think every sportsman and sportswoman have that competitive edge. There's a little bit extra that some guys have that makes them special.
So this gets me to the question, and I wonder what was going in your mind, given your competitive nature, when Matthew Hayden surpassed your record. Did you go like, buddy, you can have it for a bit because I'm taking it back?
No, no chance. I mean, I was 24 years old when I broke the record. When he broke the record, I was 34, 10 years later. And to be honest with you, I felt for like that 10-year period, I felt that sort of, strangulation by having a couple world records. And a lot of people sort of, be very critical, or their expectations were so great that whatever I did was a disappointment. And I look back on many times that I felt sort of, I would say, pressured, or not depressed, but sort of angry with the world because, what do you expect? I'm trying my best. And in cricket, as a batsman, you fail more than you succeed. You have more scores under 40 than you have over 40. And I honestly felt that morning, my lawyer woke me up, my manager lawyer woke me up. I was in Jamaica. It was 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. And my room phone rang, and he said, "Brian, I have a number for you. It's the Australian dressing room. Your record was just broken. And to be honest, I felt a peace. I made the call. I had a quick chat with Matthew Hayden and hung up. 6 months later, no one could tell me, that I was going to break a record. Actually, I would maybe ask the question in the audience. We've played 4 test matches against England. By the end of the 3rd test match, who can tell me how much runs I had in the series? 6 innings. Anybody? What? Yes, I had 100 runs in 6 innings. All 3 test matches lost, averaging 16.5. Now, which cricketer or batter could tell you tomorrow they're going to go out there and break a world record again? I was not the one. I think, again, it comes back to destiny and the right opportunity. Again, we were 3-0 down in the series, and we had a test match to draw. And I went out there, and fortunately for me, I was the person to do it. But I ended up with 500 runs in a test series, and that looks really good, but 400 came in one match. Yeah, I almost nicked Hamilton. I think Michael Vaughan, the captain, still thinks that I nicked that ball. But as you may be quite aware, I do walk when I think that I'm out.
Well, Brian, most competitive people are very hard on themselves. So when you took up captaincy, there was also a lot of criticism that came your way. How did you deal with that? That must have been a very turbulent period for you.
Yeah, I think, you know what? There is some sort of a problem, especially when you're one of the top players in a team. And I suppose I can speak maybe on behalf of Sachin as well. When you're given the mantle of leadership, right, but you're still expected to do yeoman service with the bat. And I think sometimes, when you are that top player, there's a lot of criticism, there's a lot of envy. And for me, I felt that my first stint as the West Indies captain, I did not have wholehearted support from my cricket board. I felt that was given, yes, but there was so much things that are happening behind. And I know that for a fact that if you're a team that isn't very successful at the beginning, the players realize that, and all of a sudden they start disappearing, and the support starts weakening. And I felt that I suffered from that a bit. I'm not sure what happened in Sachin's situation, but I know Sachin, being, the amazing player that he was, would have been under a lot of pressure, pulling the entire team in the direction that he wanted to, especially if you're trying to handle defeat, success, and defeat at the same time.
So what would you say was the highlight of your captaincy career, according to you, which satiated you?
According to me, I think the highlight of my captaincy would have been the 1999 series against Australia. We came off the back of a 5-0 defeat in South Africa. Very embarrassing, and I was the captain of that team, and I was expected to be hung by the time I got back home. And fortunately for me, I wasn't. The first test match was in Trinidad and Tobago, and I just felt that that was the only reason why I was given the captaincy, because it was in my hometown. And I got it for 2 games. The first time the West Indies captain has ever been under probation. And we lost the first game in Trinidad badly. And we proceeded to Jamaica, where I got a double 100, and we won the test match. And then in Barbados, the following week, I got 153 not out. We won that test match. And I believe that that series, which ended up a drawn series because Australia had won the 4th, was the series that showed me my true character and showed me the strength that I had. And from then on, it was a watershed moment in my career, because I felt that I handled things a lot better from that occasion on forward. So for me, that was maybe the highlight of my career as a captain. I know we won the ICC trophy 4 years later, but that series would remain with me forever.
Since you touched upon the ICC Champions Trophy, what was that like? What was the team like? Did you go and expect to win it?
No. We had 0 chance of winning that tournament. We played 7 test matches. That's the same year I scored the 400. We played 8 test matches against England. We lost 7, 3 in the Caribbean, 4 in England, and I could see the mood in the camp was, do we really have to stay in England in September to play this tournament? And everybody looked despondent and wanted to go home. And I felt as captain, it was definitely going to be my last hooray as captain. I knew for a fact that they were going to get rid of me. And I sort of rallied my troops together in a way that I wouldn't advise much leaders to. I sort of get everybody in a mood where I allowed them to do what they wanted to do, right? Which obviously could be to the benefit of the team, but not necessarily respect for the captain. And we were able to pull off a victory in a tournament that we really should not have won. But it just shows different style of leadership, you know. And for me, my tenure as a captain was up and down. I had a couple amazing series, but I also had some very disappointing ones. But so is life. You know, you live and you learn. And I think I handle things a lot better now than I did back then.
Well, with so much success riding on your shoulder, and especially when you're still playing and you still have records that are unbeaten till today, have you ever felt invincible on the pitch? Nothing can go wrong today.
No, I actually never did. I think that my batting style was one that I had to keep working on. If there's one thing that I was very envious of with Sachin Tendulkar is the way his technique, the way he played on any surface, any conditions, against any bowling attack, he had the technique to survive. With my flair and sort of flamboyance came a lot of weaknesses, and I felt that every single time I had an opportunity to bat, I had to work on it. And I keep working day in, day out. And it's not a bad thing. I suppose Sachin did the same. You know, he would have felt that, yes, I have to keep a step ahead of everyone. But I've never felt invincible. I always felt that, you know, I sort of planned my innings. I had this computer in my mind where I knew where I was going to score runs, which bowlers I was going to score runs against, which bowlers I had to be, you know, subdued and let them have their time. And I sort of worked my way through my innings every single time. It was not like a natural gift of just walking out and, you know, looking like a Martin Crowe or one of those, you know, guys, Mark Waugh, and just scoring runs at ease. I think that my hard work paid off at the end.
It indeed did. And along with that, of course, like you rightly mentioned, the flair, the flamboyance, and all of it came together. So it's a personality that you just can't miss out on, and everybody sort of looks up to it. So I'm going to take an advice on behalf of everybody here and ask you, you know, the way you paced your innings, your hunger for runs is an example. And I believe that you have a certain brand of life that I would like to call the Brian Lara brand of life. So if we had to take a piece, a note from that brand of life, what advice would you give us?
I think the advice I'd give is that the darkest hour is where you can find, you know, the future. I think for me, I've had so many encounters at times where I felt down and out, and those were the moments that I found what I needed to come out and to be something or do something very special. So my advice would be really and truly, you know, don't see every bad situation as that. See it as an opportunity to find what you're looking for and come out of it. And, you know, maybe a simple example, maybe Australia. You know, losing to India. I think they also lost to New Zealand. I'm not sure. Oh, maybe South Africa. And then pretty much up against the ropes against Afghanistan. I mean, they were down and out against Afghanistan. If you look at that dressing room, they were down and out. And they were able to find something at that point in time that turned the entire World Cup around and into taking home the trophy. So for me, don't see the darkest moment as your darkest moment. See it as something else.
All right. Now coming to modern day cricket and talking about everything that's going on so far. We are talking about all-time greats. We're talking about people who are breaking records and who can. So Virat Kohli just broke Sachin Tendulkar's record with his 50th century in ODIs. You know, there's a lot of talk about him as being an all-time great. Now, in all-time greats in the history of cricket, where do you place him?
He's already there. I mean, he's already in his mid-30s and have a few more years. I think a guy like Virat Kohli can easily dictate, you know, when he wants to leave the game, which discipline of the game that he wants to play in. Virat Kohli, for me, is one of the legends of the game already. And I believe that, you know, sometimes we look at stats and people look at, you know, 501 and 400 and they say, well, he has to be one of the greats. So you look at Virat Kohli and the amount of runs that he scores and say, well, yes, he is a great. For me, what Virat Kohli has greatness in is what he has given us, which is every youngster that's looking at the game now and looking at the way how Virat Kohli prepares himself for a cricket game is totally different to anything that we are accustomed to. His discipline, his preparation, the hard work that he puts in, I think is setting standards for the youngsters in the future. And to me, that is his greatness. I mean, not the amount of runs he scored, if he breaks Sachin's record or not, or he goes on to break my records, that's fine. I think he left an indelible mark on the game of what a cricketer should look like and how he should prepare himself for success in the future. And, you know, you can go back 40, 50 years ago, we had guys, you know, unfit playing the game. I think that has totally changed if you look at sportsmen today.
It indeed has, and not just, you know, the conditions that you're talking about, but other than that, the formats and the number of leagues that are happening, the amount of cricket that is being played. In scenarios like that, what do you see as the future of ODI cricket?
Well, you know, after such an amazing World Cup, you know, I was one that felt that, you know, maybe the 50-over game has to make a way because, as you said, franchise cricket, there's so much cricket being played. Where are we going to find time for teams to play? And I felt that this World Cup showed the importance of having the 50-over version of the game. When you get to a cricket match, you know, you can see an innings evolve. You can see a Virat Kohli. You can see a Warner. People go out there and bat and put on something very special in the 6 or 7 hours that you spend at the cricket ground. You know, you have to agree, yes, T20 is entertaining, but really and truly, it's a game where it's a hit and miss. You know, guys have to go out, they have to play a certain way. I feel the art of the game is a little bit lost. It is necessary. I love the game, but I just feel that we have to hold on to, you know, what we had before, the 50 overs and Test cricket.
All right. Well, I know I've taken my share of time, and I've been told that there are a few questions to be taken from the audience. But before I let that happen, I have to ask you, you've lived a dream of a life. Is there a dream of yours that is still unfulfilled?
Yeah, to have a golf swing like Tiger Woods. But no, I think the dream that really and truly I wish for today is to see West Indies cricket back on top. How is that going to happen? I'm not 100% sure with, you know, 5 million people, different governments, a lot of turmoil back in the Caribbean. I suppose the revenue to grow the game isn't 100% there like it is in India. But I would love to see the West Indies, you know, at least regain some sort of respect in world cricket. And we do have the talent. I just believe that we need to harness that talent a lot better.
All right. Well, fingers crossed for that, because I truly believe that every Indian also is rooting for West Indies cricket. So all the best for that. All right. Well, with that, audience.
Hi, Brian.
Yes.
Coming back to the legendary series of Frank Worrell Trophy, one of your favorites which you had mentioned. The Frank Worrell Trophy, 98-99. You went on to create some extraordinary records. You played 2 greatest innings, the 213, the second test, and the fourth one, the third test, I believe, 153, rated as one of the greatest innings by the Wisdom, rated number 2. But I personally feel, being one of your greatest fans, that 213 was the best innings ever. Now, I want your personal view on that. Which 2? Because 213 doesn't fall among the top 10 greatest innings. 153 does, but the kind of pressure it was there, I saw every ball you faced. After, you know, unfortunately getting run out in the first test, in the first innings, and then after coming back with all the rigor. So among these 2 innings, which one is your favorite one? The 213 or the 153?
I think this guy knows my answer already. He must have read an article that had my answer on it, because the 213 is definitely not a better innings. It's definitely one that showed me the true mettle, the true personality that I have, the character that I have. And a lot of people wouldn't rate it because, they wouldn't understand what was going on inside of me. But walking out to bat in Jamaica with the assumption that this is the last test match I'll be playing as a captain. We are playing the best team in the world, Australia. They just trashed us in Trinidad, bowling us out for 51. And just to let you know, on the first day, the score was 258 Australia. The West Indies were 36 for 4. And I went back to the hotel, and one of my friends who, a good supporter, he brought some Jamaican jerk chicken for me, and I was having dinner, and he said to me, you guys are going to go on to win this game. Well, Jamaica is known for the best marijuana. And I wanted to know how big was the spliff that he was smoking to come with that idea that we're going to win this test match. And the next day, to produce such an innings under such pressure, the 213 quietly for me and for you will be, cherished for life.
Lovely.
The West Indies, the West Indies are known for their flamboyant style of playing cricket. And in the process, very often they got out very quickly. But you seem to have broken all batting records in terms of, individual batting scores are concerned. What's the secret of your success in occupying the crease so long?
Well, first of all, we were known for flamboyance in the 70s, in the 60s with Sir Garfield Sobers, in the 70s with Sir Vivian Richards and Gordon Greenwich, and of course in the 80s when we dominated world cricket. So I believe that the background of playing the longer version of the game is where you build that foundation, you build a good technique, and then you evolve into an attacking player or a player with style. I think what's happening now is that there is no credibility given to the longer version of the game. Everybody wants to go out there and play the T20 version of the game. You don't need a great technique. As I said, it's a hit or miss. You can make, 4 or 5 scores under 10 and then come the next day and make 17, 25 balls and you're a superhero. So I think that's one of the reasons why now you'd see us struggling in Test cricket in the 50-over version of the game. The longer the version of the game, the guys don't have the attrition level, they don't have the technique to do so. But it doesn't mean that we are in an abyss. I still believe that we have an opportunity to grab these youngsters and teach them how to bat, how to put together innings. And with the same flamboyance, not to lose their flamboyance, but how to go about putting together an innings. And I believe a lot of the youngsters in the West Indies don't understand how to do so.
All right.
Hi, Brian. Here, Vijay Krishna. Here. Yeah, it's an honor to interact with you. You are talking about making West Indies cricket great again. My question is, you guys are having great talent like Jofra Archer and all. But how we are going to motivate them to stay with West Indies cricket rather than going out to other countries or going to other sports?
Well, I think that's the job of the West Indies Cricket Board, to have scouts, to have people moving around the Caribbean, looking at the young talent that we have. I mean, any youngster, listen, I'm not going to give Jofra Archer or any other young cricketer that has taken that path. I think that playing for England, or a Robin Singh who played for India from Trinidad and Tobago, if you have that opportunity and you have that sort of a family connection to these bigger countries, why not do it? I would definitely say yes. But our job is to keep the talent because it belongs to us. This is where we nurtured it. And I don't think that we are doing so. I think a lot of your upbringing and a lot of your formative years, you're allowed to do it yourself. And we need to set up academies to keep an eye on the talent that we have. We don't have that structure as yet in the West Indies. So you're going to have guys with wonderful talent, that opportunity to go abroad, they do so. And you're seeing it with South Africa. the exodus to England and these other places. Now, the Netherlands is also another avenue for the South Africans. So for me, we have to do a better job as administrators.
Thank you so much.
Here.
Yes, please.
So, who do you think in the current stream of young cricketers across all the countries, who do you think will go to become the greatest of all, like Brian, like Sachin, like Vivian Richards?
And this is from around the world or from India?
Around the world, anyone. You could pick anyone. Whom do you think that quality you see that they'll become the greatest of great?
Well, I think the Australians, any young Australians, they have the right upbringing on the competitive side. But when you're talking about natural ability, I think a young man like Shubman Gill has what it takes at age 22 to become one of the greats. Of course, there are a lot of different distractions now to what we had in the past, but I believe that he's got the ability to do so. Tilak Varma, I think, is also a very talented young player. But talent is one thing. I don't know. I don't live in their minds. I want to see, how these guys are mentally. Pretty much a Virat Kohli is pretty much out there. He tells you what he has to do to be successful. You look at a lot of YouTube or Instagram posts, and he tells you what it took for him to be a success. Turning his back on negative things, be it health, be it whatever, to make sure that he gave himself the best opportunity. So any young player can have the world of talent. It takes a little bit more from them to be the best in the world.
Brian, one hypothetical question. Brian, over here.
So you should also introduce yourself, just so that we don't have confusion.
This is Shubhamoy from ABP. My question is, if you were the captain of India team, what would have been the message to the boys after the match, the final match?
If
you were the captain of the Indian team, what would have been the message to the boys after the final match?
After?
After the India-Australia final match.
After the final match, obviously, you would have a group of disappointed young men, but I think it's very, very quickly to snap out of it. I think they did the country proud. I would express that the country would be proud. Maybe some people, some quarters would be disappointed that we did not win the trophy, but I think at the end of the day, only one team could. Try to take the positives out of it and move on. There would be a lot of young players in the team as well. The Ishan Kishans and Shubman Gill, guys who are going to move on to the future. Make sure that they understand that this was just a learning opportunity for them to maybe lift the trophy the next time the tournament is taking place.
Thank you.
Hi, Lara, this is Dr. Chitranjan here from Mumbai. A lot of people are going to ask you about the cricket, your records, something like that. But I am going to ask you a personal question that how is your heart right now? How is your heart right now? Because I have read some of the news that you have some problems. You have admitted in Mumbai, checked, a lot of activities going on. How you are feeling right now?
I think I feel very fine. Thank you for asking. Appreciate that.
All right, next.
I have a question.
Yes.
So I have one question that, a lot of your contemporaries, your friends, they stay in the cricket field, encompasses, either in country, they're doing coaching job. Why you can't get to see you enough in today's date? What made you, stay out of the cricket? Why you do take a call and make yourself not available in the cricket field?
He's asking that why don't we see you more often these days in the cricket space?
Okay. Well, I was with SRH, Sunrisers Hyderabad, for 2 seasons, 2022 and 23. I was with Fox, not Fox, I was with Star Sports for 3 seasons in the IPL before that. And presently, I am the performance coach with the West Indies cricket board, not just the international team, but all levels. So I'm quite busy. And I hope that answers your question because I am involved, I feel, in a very important way.
Hi, Brian, Samrat here, big fan. You spoke about a lot of batsmen. I want to ask you which bowler was the most challenging for you and how did you prepare for him?
I think the number 1 bowler that I faced would have been Wasim Akram. from Pakistan. I feel his deceptive pace and swing was always a difficult proposition for myself. Glenn McGrath got me out the most, but I felt that with McGrath, you had to make the mistake. And he was so patient that, you got into an area where you did make the mistake. But when it coming to someone who had the wit to get you out, someone who, could embarrass you even if you come off scoring 400 in a match, it would have been Wasim Akram. I thought he was extremely special as a fast bowler and one of my difficult proposition as a batter.
All right. Well, last two, all right? Because according to me, if this clock was clicking for me, this time is done. So last two questions.
Slightly controversial, but let's say you were Rohit Sharma, the captain of the Indian team, in the final of the World Cup. Who would you have replaced from that team? Do you think he had the right combination in the playing 11, or would you have dropped one of those guys and replaced him with someone else?
I think they had the right combination. I feel that a guy like Ravi Ashwin is with his experience is someone that would be tough to leave out of an Indian 11. But I think the team did very, very well, and I don't think we can sort of try now to be critical of anything. The only situation, as I said earlier on, was I would have been preparing my team, and I think Rahul Dravid would have been. I would have been preparing my team and looking at any weaknesses that were created in the victories that we've had. I think one of the things that I will tell any young batter that I did a lot is whenever I was successful, I went back looking at videos to see where I made a step wrong, because that is where the opposition is going to come firing next time. And I know Rahul and I know Rohit would have been doing that. It's just that on the finals day, it was not India's day. But that's for me is sort of when you're very successful, keep picking. Be as self-critical as you could be to make sure that you stay a step ahead of the opposition. Australia was in a prime position to upset India after the World Cup that they have had. You would think that India was more prepared. No, Australia was more prepared. They were damaged a lot more, and they knew what they had to do to beat India.
That's actually a great message for all of us, because as some of the speakers earlier today said, we in business fail more often than people see. So faith is the next step of success.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank
Thanks
you.
a lot. One last question. One last question, guys. All right, I see one hand up. Please go for it.
What's your take on the DRS, the thing, and especially the ICC should change some rules regarding the umpire's call and the DRS system that is implemented?
I'm guessing this is a group of techies.
I think the DRS is first of all, neutral umpires was a very good move. And then, with that possibility of human error, bring in a technology that was fair to both teams. I'm not saying that the technology is 100% right, but I think that it's fair to both teams when you have the opportunity to use a DRS to, get a result or get an opinion. In terms of the umpire's call, I think that if you have DRS, it should be relied on 100%. And I don't like when a ball hits the leg stump or just hits the outside of the leg stump and the umpire's call was not out on one occasion, and then the exact thing happened. The umpire's call was out and one guy has to leave and the other guy can stay. So I think there's a little bit of problem there with the umpire's call and something that they should get rid of.
Well, thank you so much, everyone. Thanks a lot for your questions. And there were some very critical questions that were asked, but on a very serious note, since we are in Kolkata, have you tried Mishti Doi?
No, I haven't.
So
What
then,
is it?
Well, since you're in Kolkata and if Brian Lara is asking what is Mishti Doi, all of you've got a task up your sleeves. You have to try it before you leave.
Okay.
If you're a foodie, you're going to love it. But thank you so much on that sweet note. Thank you so much for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, the man with a lot of power and character, Brian Lara. Let's give the man a huge round of applause.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Brian Charles Lara and Ridhima Pathak. I would like to request Mr. Dhruva Mukherjee, CEO of ABP Private Limited, to kindly come forward and present mementos to Mr. Brian Charles Lara. Huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for sharing your stories with us. Yes, and thank you, Ms. Ridhima Pathak, for moderating the session so beautifully. Thank you so much. Thank you. And once again, a huge round of applause for Mr. Brian Charles Lara and Ridhima Pathak. Thank you.